Hello! If you've clicked on this video, you're probably some level of curious on the new features and changes coming in Year 8, Season 2 of Rainbow Six Siege. You've come to the right place. This video is going over every documented change coming in the season, with screenshots and clips to go with it. You can listen, you can watch, but either way I hope you learned something. There's timestamps and chapters on this video if you're looking for something specific, and without further ado, let's kick off everything coming Operation Dread Factor. First, let's get up to date with our current roadmap, starting with the things that have been delayed. The Frost rework has been delayed to Season 3 so that we can get a chance to try it out in this season's lab test server first. They'll have a dedicated spot on our 6fix for feedback. Because of this delay, the observation blocker gadget is being moved forward, and we'll also be getting part 1 of a much needed Grim rework. That's the major updates to the roadmap, so let's get to what most people are here for, the new operator. Fenrir is the newest defender coming to the Rainbow Six lineup as part of Thermite's Red Hammer squad. Emil Svensson hails from Sweden and is a neurochemist, scientist, trained soldier, and defense mastermind. Fenrir was discharged from the Swedish Armed Forces after insisting on developing formulas that could alter the emotional state of soldiers. This caused his estrangement from his family and military communities, which unfortunately led him into the arms of Deimos and his labs. When Deimos unethically used a highly dangerous and experimental chemical on Fenrir's fellow researchers with deadly consequences, he fled with his research to Rainbow Six. Fenrir's gadget is called the F-Naught Dread Mine, and will add an element of discomfort and claustrophobic fear to Siege. This throwable, sticky trap can go just about anywhere to undermine, pun intended, the attack's movements. The mine has 3 possible states: deactivated, activated, or triggered. When a mine is deactivated, it is armored and cannot be destroyed except by explosive damage or Sledge's hammer. A deactivated mine is inert and cannot do anything to anyone. Once a mine is activated, it opens up to become vulnerable to all damage types, but can now be triggered by a hostile that enters its proximity and line of sight. A triggered mine will turn red for Fenrir, make a sound cue, and will emit a psychochemical gas that causes delirium and clouds perception. In-game, this translates to an opaque bubble that completely surrounds you, limiting your vision to only 4 meters in any direction. This is called the fear effect. While you are within the 4-meter radius of the mine, that bubble remains centered on you, so your visibility is consistently limited to 4 meters in any direction. Anyone within the radius of a triggered mine will suffer the fear effect regardless of the mine's team loyalty. The only exception is Fenrir himself, whose unique mask gives him immunity to the gas, allowing him to play as aggressively as he needs to off of his own mines. Once the triggering hostile leaves the radius, or line of sight, the mine returns to its activated state and the fear effect dissipates within a couple seconds. Because it is a line of sight gadget and vulnerable when it is activated, Fenrir will have to be particularly creative in placement to maximize the efficiency of each mine. Fenrir starts the preparation phase with 5 mines in his pocket, which he can place wherever he sees fit, including outside. But there's a catch. You're probably wondering, Ceymone, how does a mine enter the activated state? Well, Fenrir has to activate it with a code. Fenrir has 3 codes, but 5 mines. So he has to be deliberate with which mine is active at which time. Fenrir can get codes back by deactivating an activated mine. However, if a mine is destroyed while it holds a code, that code can never return to Fenrir, meaning he cannot activate any more mines once he's run out. He also cannot deactivate or pick up a triggered mine, so if an attacker is brave enough to seek it out and destroy it, that mine and its code is gone for that round. Fenrir can activate or deactivate mines remotely from anywhere on the map by looking at the mine and holding the interaction key, which is F by default, but is the same key you'd use to plant, defuse, or remove a lesion goo. If you are out of codes, you must deactivate a mine first, then activate the new one, which can take a critical extra moment of time. On his HUD, Fenrir is able to see where his deployed mines are located. Fenrir's mines synergize well with operators that cause their own anxiety or danger, to force operators into making quick and stressful decisions where they're more likely to make a mistake. This includes trap operators like Thorn, Ella, and Capcan. Gadgets that slow down operators can be used in tandem to ensure a quick retreat is impossible with operators like Melusi and Clash. Of course, there's always Kavera to add an extra layer of fear on what may be lurking just beyond the pale. Intel operators can provide Fenrir with valuable information on when and where to activate or deactivate his mines. This includes operators like Valkyrie, Pulse, and Echo. The suppressor barrel attachment also synergizes well with the fear effect, since people inside the bubble will have greater difficulty responding to your gunshots. Fenrir's dread mines also have their fair share of counters. In their armored state, the mines are immune to bullet or melee damage, but not explosive damage. Ash, Zofia, Kali, and Flores, as well as operators with the Gon 6 hand cannon or frag grenades, can easily dispatch an armored mine, if you choose to do so. Remember, an armored mine is inert and would need to be activated remotely by Fenrir to affect you or your teammates. Sledge can also destroy armored mines with his hammer, with much less detriment to utility usage. When a mine is activated or triggered, it is vulnerable to all damage types. Bullets, melee, and gadgets that have lasers such as Twitch's shock drone and Zero's Argus cameras can all destroy an activated or triggered mine. Another way to get a mine into a vulnerable state is by putting it in DSEG, the disabled state for electronic gadgets. Thatcher and secondary EMP grenades can put any mine in DSEG. While disabled, an armored mine will open up to become vulnerable to all damage, and an activated or triggered mine will be incapable of deploying the gas. Since the mine is an electronic gadget, IQ can detect the mines with her sensor. She is able to tell if the mine is armored or activated by the shape. IQ can easily destroy activated mines through soft surfaces, particularly since the mines are vulnerable from all directions, even from the back. While very brief, IQ can even detect Fenrir's phone in his hand when he is activating or deactivating his mines. And there's one more attacker who has very interesting interactions with electronic gadgets, and this is none other than Brava herself, the previous addition to the Siege lineup. Brava is able to use her clutch drone to destroy armored mines or hack and change the loyalty of activated or triggered mines. A hacked mine will not trigger when an attacker enters its radius and line of sight. It will trigger and cause the fear effect for defenders, except for Fenrir, who will trigger the mine but remains immune to the gas thanks to his mask. Remember, anyone else in the proximity of a triggered mine will still suffer the fear effect, even if they're not the one who triggered it, or if the mine is technically a friendly gadget. Brava isn't limited to hacking the mines themselves either. For example, if Brava hacks one of Womai's magnets, the magnet will catch a thrown mine, pull it to the magnet, and release it, altering its intended trajectory. If Brava hacks one of Mute's jammers, a mine in its radius will enter DSEG to the same effect of EMPs. Fenrir is unable to activate or deactivate mines that are in DSEG, since he cannot communicate with them. If Fenrir himself enters the radius of a hacked jammer, he will see a glitch effect as his HUD becomes unavailable until he leaves the area of effect, meaning he cannot access any of his mines during that time. When a mine is hacked, it also takes the code from Fenrir, the same way destroying an activated or triggered mine would. Once a mine is hacked, Solus is able to see it with her Spec.io sensor. The operators we just covered are pretty hard counters to Fenrir, as they're able to remove his utility from the playing field or render it useless. But there are some operators who are more soft counters, as they can modulate the effectiveness of the fear effect. Finka can activate her adrenal surge to reduce the effectiveness of the gas. While it is not dissipated entirely, operators with an active surge effect can see an additional 2 meters for a total of 6 meters of visibility in any direction. If Sens finds themselves in the fear bubble, they can throw out their ROU screen to at least equal the playing field a little while you figure out what to do. You can't see, but at least they probably can't see you either now. Shield operators like Montaigne can also brave the mine's effect a little more, because while they cannot see, they at least have cover for themselves and teammates until the mine can be dispatched or a retreat made. You're also able to see pings through the effect, meaning red and yellow pings can still guide you to a kill, even if you can't necessarily see for yourself. So, while the mines can be a little stress-inducing, they are not without their counters, and of course they still rely on activation by Fenrir as well as effective placement. Some operators who I thought might counter Fenrir but do not include Nook, who cannot sneak past them with her Hell Presence reduction device, and Glaz, who cannot see through the gas because it's all in your head. The reasoning makes sense, but I still wanted to make sure. In conclusion, Fenrir's dread mines are versatile and anxiety-inducing utility. The implementation of the activation codes means that if Fenrir wants to maximize the potential of his kit, he will not be able to play his traps in a set-and-forget manner. The mines can be played as simple or as complex as the player desires or is capable, whether it be limiting yourself to 3 mines or taking a more active role and juggling which mine is active at which time. Since a triggered mine emits a sound cue, it can also be used as an ad hoc proximity alarm, with the added benefit of debilitating the vision of the operator in its midst. Regarding his loadout, Fenrir has a well-rounded and formidable kit. For primary options, Fenrir can equip the MP7 SMG shared with Bandit and Zero, or the Sausage 12 shotgun shared with Kapkan and Finka. The MP7 has access to all standard barrel attachments, the optional underbarrel laser, and the 1x optics. There are no grip options for Fenrir's MP7. His Sausage 12 is also limited to 1x optics, can equip either grip option, the suppressor barrel attachment, and the underbarrel laser. Originally, Fenrir only had one secondary weapon option, the Bailiff 410 shotgun pistol, shared with Maestro, Alibi, Oryx, Doc, and Grim. Yes, Grim. But after some feedback on the test server Reddit, he was given access to a second option to make the Sausage primary a little more comfortable of a pick. Fenrir can choose to bring the Bailiff or the 5.7 USG, shared with Ash, Thermite, Castle, Pulse, Nook, and Zero. For secondary utility, Fenrir can either bring 2 barbed wires or 1 bulletproof camera. He brings his loadout to the field as a 2-speed, 2-health operator. The specialties assigned to Fenrir are crowd control and trapper, since his utility in mines in particular can shape where the attack can move freely and creates devastating pinch points that he can take advantage of, particularly with the shotgun primary. For the first 2 weeks of the season, you will not be able to ban Fenrir in the ranked or unranked game modes. Operation Dread Factor will be introducing some operator balancing changes in addition to the new operator Fenrir. Most notable is the first part of a long-awaited buff to the attacker Grim to make him more reliable and versatile. First, Grim's loadout has been updated to include the Bailiff secondary weapon, giving Grim the ability to open hatches or lines of sight. The secondary hard breach gadget has also been added to his loadout. While critical to his versatility and utility, loadout changes aren't the only enhancements coming to the operator. His Ka-1 Hive launcher has been buffed in nearly all categories. The launcher itself can be equipped 100 milliseconds faster, and its rate of fire has been increased from 40 to 70 RPM, allowing Grim to fire hives at a faster rate to cover more area and reduce the time he's vulnerable. Once the projectile lands, it will activate faster, taking only 0.4 seconds instead of 1. However, to balance these and the changes yet to be mentioned, the projectile has been made vulnerable to more damage types, if you're quick enough to act on it. If you manage to shoot, punch, or laser a projectile before it releases its swarm, it will be destroyed. But much like Ying's Candelas, while you can destroy it, I imagine most people will take the opportunity to flee instead. The swarm released by the projectile has also been improved. The duration of the swarm has been doubled, from 8 seconds to 16 seconds. The radius of the swarm has also been increased by 1 meter to 4.6 meters. Instead of pinging their head, the detection system has been changed to the body. When a defender is within the swarm, their location is constantly pinged. Once they leave the swarm, or the swarm dies, the decay pings begin. Previously, this decay would ping the defender a few more times, after 1 second, then the 3rd second, and finally the 9th second. In the new season, this has been normalized to 4 pings, each 1 second apart. This does mean the defender who leaves the swarm will be pinged for less overall time than before, over 4 seconds instead of 9. But the pings will be more accurate. These changes combined make Grim a much more comfortable, viable, and competitive option in team compositions. Thunderbird will also be receiving some changes in Dread Factor, although they've been interpreted more as a nerf than a buff. I'm of the stance that it's a lateral change, one suited to her intended role as a support operator, but we can argue the implications once you know the changes. Thunderbird will be losing both her impact grenades and nitro cell from her loadout. They will be replaced with barbed wire and the bulletproof camera. She still has her shotgun option with a very comfortable machine pistol secondary if making rotations was a staple of your Thunderbird gameplay. There are also some changes coming to her Kona stations. The healing shot has been reduced from 30 HP to 20 HP, but the cooldown has been drastically reduced by 20 seconds, meaning a new health nugget can be delivered every 15 seconds. This inadvertently removes the benefit of Kona juggling, which is a cheeky maneuver where a Thunderbird can reset her stations by picking them up and putting them back down. but now the time saved isn't really worth their risk. And in general, you can help more of your team heal any chip damage they may have received, possibly saving them from the next bullet. Now, Thunderbird isn't the only operator whose secondary utility is getting shuffled around. Often when something is taken from someone, it's given to someone else. So let's do a lightning round for the gadgets getting moved around. Let's start with nitro cells. Thunderbird and Goyo are losing them, and no one will be picking them up. Thunderbird and Goyo will be gaining the bulletproof camera in their absence to no one's loss. Barbed wire. Thunderbird will be picking up the spiky circles, and Pulse and Jaeger will be losing them. Goyo is gaining impact grenades, while Alibi and Thunderbird are giving them up. Alibi and Smoke will be sacrificing their deployable shields so that Clash and Pulse may pick them up instead. Proximity alarms will be added to Alibi, Smoke, and Tachanka. And a brand new secondary gadget will be coming to the defensive playing field this season called the Observation Blocker. We'll discuss the details of this gadget after the intermission, but for now, the following operators will be gaining this secretive piece of utility: Alibi, Kavera, Ella, Jaeger, Kaid, Maestro, Pulse, Rook, Smoke, and Warden. And you won't have to wait long at all to learn about it. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to take a moment to shamelessly plug my socials. If you're interested in or by my content, consider liking and sharing this video or subscribing to help my channel. I also live stream weekly at twitch.tv/Ceymone. Links are in the description. That's my little spiel, so let's get on with the new features coming in Operation Dread Factor, starting with the new Observation Blocker gadget. The Observation Blocker is a brand new piece of intel denial utility coming to the defensive side of Rainbow Six Siege. Operators who have this tool will have 3 that can be deployed on the ground to project a digital barrier. This barrier blocks the view of hostile observation tools, including drones and Yana's clone. The blocker deploys for a whopping width of 5 meters in a straight line and goes upward for 2.2 meters. In US metrics, that's roughly 16.5 feet long and 7 feet tall. The blocker can be used to various means, including hiding your most precious utility, site setups, or lurk spots. This can greatly diminish the effectiveness of attacker repick, as the attackers have to work harder to gain the intel that makes repick so strong. They cannot counter what they could not see. You can see the blocker's barrier on friendly observation tools, but it doesn't block their view. It's more of a reminder to say, hey, they can't see through this. Brava can hack the observation blocker, which will block the view of defender observation tools instead, but does not affect gadgets that work on line of sight like Melusi's Banshees or Jaeger's ADSs. Remember, much like Fenrir's mines, the effect is visual and one-sided. The barrier will not prevent your drone from traveling through it, but you always must be wary of what or who might be lurking on the other side. The blocker has no effect whatsoever on operators' vision. The barriers can also be destroyed by anything really: bullets, explosives, melee, lasers, and so on. They only have 1 HP, but they do have a notoriously strange hitbox, and you do need to hit the device that emits the barrier. All in all, the observation blocker can be used to great effect to limit the attacker's information, and also opens up the defense to more options for their lineup, since you may not feel as pressured to play operators like Mute. Some new features will be coming to the shooting range in Dread Factor as well. First, the damage lane will be receiving a new option, a destructible wall that you can bring up or down to your heart's content. This allows you to test out the destructive capabilities of weapons, practice making rotates with various attachments, or comparing damage drop-off through soft surfaces. A wall in a lane isn't the only thing coming to the shooting range though. The third lane is finally being unveiled, the aiming lane. This lane is a lot like an aim trainer you'd see in aim labs. It has various options and you can shoot customized targets on a timer and see how you do. There are various customization options. Round duration can be 15, 30, 60, or 120 seconds. You can choose to target dummies, big balls, or small balls. All balls have 100 health, but for dummies you can choose between 100, 110, or 125 for each base health category operators can be. You can even turn on headshots only for dummy targets. The number of targets on the field at once can be set to 1, 2, 3, or 4. The target speeds can be toggled between idle, walk, run, sprint, or random, and their distance from you can be set to near, medium, far, or random. You can even toggle between infinite magazine ammo if you want to practice the gun's feel in a realistic setting or just practice your aim uninterrupted. The next new feature coming in Operation Dread Factor is the long-hyped permanent arcade playlist. This playlist will house 5 of the fan-favorite game modes in Siege, including Deathmatch, Snipers, Headshot Only, my personal favorite, Golden Gun, and a brand new mode called Free-for-All. Deathmatch is the respawn-enabled 5v5 first team to however many kills wins game mode. Snipers is a mode where the only weapon is Callie's sniper rifle. Headshot only speaks for itself. It's a 5v5 mode where you can only kill someone by shooting them in the head. Golden Gun is the one-shot, one-kill Golden Deagle extravaganza, and Free-for-All is a completely new format. No teams, every player for themselves, first player to 30 kills wins, arcade mode. The arcade playlist and its 5 modes will even be available to play in custom games. You can modify which modes you want to queue for by adjusting your matchmaking preferences in the settings menu. The last major new feature coming in Operation Dread Factor is a new perspective in the match replay system. Players will finally be able to enter a free camera that lets them fly around the map untethered. Whether it's to see strategies from new angles or to create content, the free cam opens up a new world of opportunity in match replay. In the future, you'll even be able to hide the HUD, which I'll look forward to so that I can make content for new maps even better. And that leads us into a nice segue for the next major change coming in the new season. Consulate is an 8-year-old map, one of the oldest in the game, and it was definitely due for a refresh. In Dread Factor, Consulate has undergone a heavy overhaul to bring it up to the new map standard, meaning every asset in the map has been updated to improve its destruction, sound propagation, and more. But not just the foundation has been updated. The design and layout of the building itself has been redesigned and balanced. My personal favorite feature of the redesign is the squashing of most of the spawn peaks and runout locations, as well as making the map more comfortable to enter as an attacker. On the flip side, post-plant has also been made more comfortable for defenders by reducing the ability of outside map control. Notably, the garage has an intermediary indoor-outdoor transition period that forces more close and personal interactions around the breach area. The exterior balcony has received a long-awaited refresh as well. The windows have been replaced with a breachable wall, and you can finally jump off of the balcony, reducing your chances of being stuck there. Once you're inside the map, you'll notice some changes to the layout. Many of the long hallways have been broken up with walls or rooms to limit the number of, wow, there's 6 angles looking at me right now, anxiety spots. With that, however, comes a few nooks and crannies that can definitely hold a rat or two, so be sure you're learning the map and clearing your angles. If you do want some help learning the new layout, on screen and in the description are some maps I made that cover the compass callouts, locations of doors, windows, hatches, and walls, and other useful information. Feel free to share them. The reworked Consulate will be added to all playlists and cannot be banned in unranked or ranked during Operation Dread Factor to ensure the community has to at least try it before they decide they hate it. Now, speaking of things we hate, or rather things that reduce things we hate, let's move on to the quality of life section. Several quality of life updates are coming in Operation Dread Factor. The first is an accessibility addition to include more controller layouts. The new layouts hope to provide alternative inputs for shooting, crouching, and leaning to combat hand fatigue and discomfort. The new layouts can be found in the controller layout section housed in the options menu. New layouts aren't the only thing coming to the options menu. In the options menu, you will now be able to select your input and output audio devices. I'm hoping that this is one step closer to separating the in-game voice chat audio from the rest of the game sounds, but I'll definitely take what I can get, and this should reduce frustration for many players. For squads, you'll now have access to a voting feature in the after-action report that lets you let your leader know you're ready for the next game. The leader will then be able to skip the remaining timer and queue for the next match immediately instead of having to wait or return to the menu first. The reputation system's messages are also getting some quality of life updates. The verbiage used on the banner has been changed from warnings to penalties. The active penalty banner has been updated to trigger only on the first round of a game rather than persisting on each and every round start. Players will still see the icons of their active penalties. Finally, for quality of life updates coming on launch, ranked will be a little more of a grind in Emerald, Diamond, and Champion ranks, per community feedback that it was a little too easy for some people to fly through those ranks. How this will be implemented was kept under the radar, but I'm hoping it won't negatively affect the players who are already working very hard for their grind. Rather, I hope it gives a challenge to the players who need one. Some updates will be coming in the mid-season patch and not at the launch of Dread Factor. This includes improvements to diffuser pickup. An option setting will come that allows you to pick between automatic by proximity or by prompt actions, or both. The diffuser pickup will also be more generous. This will be the first improvement of many to interactions that include picking up, deploying, or throwing gadgets. Again, this option will not come at season launch, but should come at some point during the season. Operation Dread Factor is a welcomingly more straightforward and simple season than the previous Commanding Force and Solar Raid seasons. We're getting a cool, variably complex defender, a long-awaited rework to a classic map, and various changes that should breathe a breath of fresh air into the game. Let me know in the comments what change will impact you most positively coming into the new season. During Dread Factor, we can expect 2 Elite bundles as well as a seasonal event. The new season is scheduled to launch on Tuesday, May 30th, and I hope to see some of you there. Thank you for watching. This has been Ceymone, and I hope you have a wonderful day.